Hey guys, happy Friday. So I wanted to come on super quick and talk to y'all about what the F do I eat? So I get this question so many times because people come into the office or I talk to them over the phone and they're just so confused about all the information out there that they don't know what to put into their bodies to truly nourish themselves and to help heal their symptoms, and there's just a lot of information out there. So I'm here to hopefully debunk some of that right now. Okay. So food is medicine. All right. We use the nutrients in our food, the vitamins, the minerals, the proteins, the carbohydrates, the fats to truly nourish our body from a cellular level out so that we can feel good and we can have energy and we can sleep well and we can move well and we can play with our kids and we can do all the things that we want to do. And when we start putting crappy foods into our body, which unfortunately is, what is mainly offered in America, in terms of packaged foods, lots of sugar, refined carbohydrates, hydrogenated oils, those kinds of things, that's when we start not feeling good. So I'm hopefully here to give you guys some information to navigate the waters and stay away from that kind of stuff and just make good overall decisions. So there are basically three things that I feel, I guess I should say four things, but the three main macronutrients that we need to put into our bodies are proteins, carbohydrates, and fats. So where do we get these foods from? Well, I know you can't really see my board here, but I did write it out, so I'm just going to kind of go over it. And basically the first, so we'll start with proteins here, okay? So proteins. So proteins, we all think of like chicken, we think of fish, we think of eggs, we think of beef, pork. Those are great sources of proteins. You want to make sure that we are getting high quality sources of proteins, okay? So when you go into the grocery store, the best thing that you can do is look for the proteins or the animal products that are organic, pasture raised, grass fed, cage free, no antibiotics, no hormones used ever. So if the least that you can do is look for those products that are no antibiotics, no hormones used ever, that's where you want to stay. Unfortunately, in America, there's a lot of animals that are conventionally raised, and typically what that looks like for those animals is they are raised in a warehouse, probably never see the sun. They are raised with hundreds to thousands of others like them, and they're given a lot of antibiotics, they're given a lot of hormones because they're getting sick, they're in close quarters, it's not sanitary. And then they're also fed very cheap diets. So that's going to be diets that mostly are comprised of genetically modified wheat, soy, corn, the things that they don't want to feed to us, so they're feeding to those animals. And so that's the kind of stuff you want to stay away from, especially when you go to the grocery store and you see stuff that's on sale. You're like, oh, this huge packet of chicken's only $10. Yes, let's grab it. Think twice, because those are the animals that are sick and are not well, and that's what's making us sick. So just spend a couple extra bucks, get the, cage-free, pasture-raised, organic if you can, always. Grass-fed too when it comes to beef and other animals that you can do. And then, of course, just the no antibiotics or hormones. Look for that on the label, okay? When it comes to fish, so your wild-caught fish, you always want to do wild-caught because, again, those are not going to be farm-raised. And the farm-raised fish are the same thing. They too are given antibiotics and hormones. They're fed a poor quality diet, which is making us sick. So look for that kind of stuff, okay? Organic, grass-fed, pasture-raised, cage-free, especially when you're doing eggs. That's a good place to be. And then your wild-caught fish, okay? And, oh, of course, organ meats. I almost forgot organ meats. I think that today, many people shy away from organ meats in terms of liver and kidneys and heart and tongue and other parts of the animal that we don't typically eat. So I would encourage you to really venture out there. There's a lot of great companies now that make products that you can specifically buy that are actually just like a supplemental form of these different parts of the animal. So you can go online and you can find companies that are making capsules of beef liver or multi-organ capsules that are going to have different parts of the animal in there. And again, always look for a grass-fed, grass-finished source, okay, organic when you can, and incorporate that stuff weekly. If you're getting one serving of organ in a week, that's great. If you can get 2 servings in a month, that's awesome. You know, find what works for you, but just get it in, because we do get so many important dense nutrients from organ meats that we really don't get from other parts of the animals because we don't eat them that often. So really high zinc, iron, other vitamins, minerals, B vitamins, B's and Bravos. So get out there and venture with your organ meats. One of my favorites is I go to Sprouts and I get a liver pate. It's called pate champagne, and that's what I call it. But it's pork liver. Got some herbs in there. There's no dairy, no milk. So it's a pretty good product. Vital Proteins and also like Ancient Nutrition, I believe is what it is. They're doing beef liver capsules. So again, in the capsules, you can get that kind of stuff. And US Wellness Meats is another great place to get those organ meats that you can actually incorporate into your meals. So they've got like a liverwurst. They've got another one that's like a multi-organ option. And I actually just integrate that into my ground beef, and I will make like a pound of ground beef. I'll throw in some of that organ meat in there, and I'll just kind of disguise it, whether I'm making, you know, gluten-free hamburger patties with a gluten-free bun, or I'm doing like a spaghetti over some spaghetti squash noodles or gluten-free pasta, whatever that might look like, and I'll just throw that liver meat in there to hide it. That way, because I'm not a huge fan of eating that stuff plain raw by myself either, so it's a good way to hide it. All right, so those are your proteins, okay? Next up is vegetables, your carbohydrates. So when people think of carbohydrates, they think, oh my gosh, bread, pasta, cereal, rice, quinoa. You know, those are starchy carbohydrates, yes, for sure. But you want to think of your carbohydrates as leafy greens and non-starchy vegetables. So lots and lots and lots of cruciferous vegetables. So that's going to be like your broccoli, your cauliflower, your cabbage, your asparagus, Brussels sprouts, all that kind of stuff, right? And lots of leafy greens. So whether you're doing kale, cabbage, or not cabbage, kale, arugula, chard, spinach, lots of dark leafy greens. And then you also want to incorporate roots and tubers. So roots and tubers are going to be your sweet potatoes, your parsnips, your beets, your pumpkin, your squash, and then also mushrooms. So mushrooms are actually they have a certain type of fiber that we can only get from mushrooms. So the key to healthy gut microbiome flora here, your healthy flora here, you want to incorporate lots and lots and lots of non-starchy, cruciferous, leafy green vegetables, but you also want to switch up your fiber types. So make sure that you're getting lots of non-starchy breakfast, lunch, and dinner, like 2 to 3 cups, okay? Throw in some dark leafy greens in there. And then also, probably about twice a week, you want to make sure that you're doing a serving of mushrooms, and you want to make sure that you're doing a serving of roots and tubers. So especially for my people that are more active and they're working out, I really encourage you to use a variety of carbohydrates for post-workout recovery in terms of doing some more sweet potatoes, again, those roots and tubers that I mentioned with your parsnips, your beets, those types of starchier carbohydrates, starchy vegetables. And then incorporating some of the rice, some of the, you know, beans and legumes here and there. Just make sure that you're properly soaking them and preparing them. So I'm a big fan of soaking them for a couple hours overnight and then pressure cooking that kind of stuff, because then it's really good as well to get some of the lectin content out. And leafy greens, yep, so we went over all that stuff. So really just up your veggies, guys. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner should have vegetables every single meal. Your vegetables are what going to keep your gut bugs healthy and happy, and that's what keeps you feeling good. So, okay, healthy fats. Next section here, your healthy fats. So we've got omega-3s, 6, and 9s, and then we also have saturated fat, okay? So you want to also make sure that you're getting in a variety, but you want to make sure that you're pretty heavy on the omega-3s, which are anti-inflammatory, versus the omega-6s, which are inflammatory. And we find a lot of omega-6s in our processed foods, especially here in America. So you can think of that as like your chips, your cookies, your cereals, like anything that pretty much comes on the shelf. And so your omega 3s are going to be fish, of course, right? Like your salmon, your mackerel, your cod, tuna, sardines. I know everybody loves sardines. And so make sure that you're getting a variety of that a couple times a week, okay? You can also be taking a really good high quality wild caught fish oil, which would be really good because then you could be incorporating that daily and making sure you're getting in some omega 3s daily. And then also egg yolks. Egg yolks are a great source for that as well. And so eat the whole egg. And then we've got your omega 6s. Okay, so omega 6s should be comprised of nuts and seeds. Those are your healthy omega 6s, okay? So if you're doing sunflower, sesame, flax, pumpkin, incorporate your seeds, okay? Omega 9s, so that's going to be your avocados and olives. So think about like avocados in your salad, with your dinner, with your lunch, with your breakfast. Your avocado oil, so you can use avocado oil to cook with, and now they also have an avocado oil that you can use at high heat. So that is what I recommend people cook with. You use an avocado oil, or you can use a saturated fat like coconut oil or grass-fed butter. You don't want to heat olive oil up. A lot of people are cooking with olive oil. You don't want to heat it up because it is very delicate. So when you heat up olive oil, it does become oxidized and it turns into a rancid fat. So don't heat up olive oil, but olive oil is great to drizzle on everything. So if you're making your meal, you can put it on top of your steamed or roasted veggies afterwards, drizzle it on your piece of chicken or some salmon. You can also, of course, incorporate it into your salads. That's always great. And saturated fat. So those are going to be your animal fats, right? Saturated, we get saturated fats from animal sources. So that's going to be your organic, pasture-raised, wild-caught chickens, beef, pork, all that kind of stuff. A good grass-fed butter, and also coconut. So that's going to be your coconut oil. And then water. So water is extremely important, guys. So you want to make sure that you're drinking enough water in a day. So the magic rule for water, or guideline, or formula, whatever you want to call it, is going to be half your body weight in ounces a day plus an ounce and a half of water for every ounce of diuretic that you drink. So if you weigh, let's say 200 pounds, okay? A 200-pound person needs to be drinking 100 ounces of water. So 100 ounces of water in a day. But then also if you're drinking a cup of coffee in the morning, or you're having some tea during the day, or whatever that diuretic might look like for you, you just want to make sure that you're adding an ounce and a half of pure water onto every ounce of diuretic that you are drinking. So if you're doing a cup of coffee in the morning, you need to drink a cup and a half of water on top of that. Okay? So make sure you're drinking enough water, people. And the other thing that you can do is you can put just a little tiny bit of sea salt in your water, like a really good high quality sea salt. It's like a great nature's electrolyte, right? Nature's electrolyte drink. So it's extremely hydrating for the adrenal glands. Your adrenal glands are what keep you feeling good throughout the day. They're responsible for giving you energy. They're responsible for blood sugar regulation. They're responsible for getting you to sleep at night and keeping you asleep. So love your adrenals, guys, and add a little bit of salt, and they would appreciate that. And let's see. Okay, now let's talk about the fun things to avoid. I know I kind of started this video on, talking about the ingredients that we want to make sure we're staying away from. And so let's go over that. So number one, okay, I am a big fan if you are having any type of health symptoms or concerns. So if you are dealing with low energy, if you're dealing with brain fog, if you're dealing with word recall, memory issues, ADHD, ADD, if you're dealing with gut issues like any constipation, diarrhea, bloating, gas, pain, anything going on there, if you're dealing with arthritis, joint pain, rheumatoid arthritis, autoimmune conditions, for sure, MS, lupus, whatever might be going on, then you, my friends, are the people that need to stay away from gluten. So gluten is an inflammatory protein molecule. It just is. It is extremely difficult for the body to recognize as well as digest. So it actually takes 3 months for your system to process gluten and get it out of your system from the day that we eat it. So a lot of people with inflammatory issues anyways throw gluten on top of that, and it just kind of is throwing fuel on the fire. So stay away from gluten. I honestly believe that, especially here in America, the way that we grow and harvest wheat, it's genetically modified. They're spraying it with a bunch of pesticides, herbicides, Roundup, glyphosates, different chemicals. I really believe that everyone can benefit from being gluten-free. It is just inflammatory. So take it out of your diet. Try taking it out of your diet for a month. See how you feel. Try taking it out of your diet for 3 months, so that way you can get it out of your system completely and see how you feel. And even maybe give yourself 6 months, so you've got a couple of months with nothing in your system, and your body can take that time to heal. And so on the ingredient labels, that's always what I look for. And you're basically going to find gluten in anything wheat, barley, or rye. So look for that on the ingredient label. Always look for, the gluten-free symbol on the front of those packages. That's always a good, just kind of sure sign that you're in the right place. And then the other thing you want to look for is hydrogenated oils or trans fats. So you will specifically read some ingredient labels, and they will say hydrogenated canola oil, hydrogenated soybean oil, hydrogenated whatever it is. That's the kind of stuff you want to stay away from. So food companies are taking these oils or these fats that are naturally liquid in form, and they are basically changing them in a lab to make them solid so that they can last longer on the shelves. That is a hydrogenated oil. Those hydrogenated oils, as well as trans fats, are creating a lot of issues in today's society. So most women with breast cancer will have higher amounts of hydrogenated or trans fats oils in their system, in their cells, if they look into that stuff. Same thing with pain and inflammation. These oils are, again, hard for the body to recognize and process, so they cause havoc and create pain and inflammation as well. Also, heart disease. Heart disease is a huge problem in America, and the hydrogenated oils and the trans fats are definitely a big cause of that stuff as well, causing a lot of cardiovascular issues. So just stay away from it, guys. Look for that on the label. And also, the oils that you want to stay away from, whether it says hydrogenated or not, is definitely going to be your canola, your vegetable oils, your soybean, sunflower, safflower, not my favorite. So you want to look for products that are using coconut oil, avocado oil, butter, stuff like that. And ideally, you're not really buying things in packages that have that anyways. So you're going to be shopping on the outer layers of the grocery store, and you're going to be buying your clean meats, lots and lots of vegetables, and you're going to have some coconut oil and some avocado oil and some grass-fed butter at home that you can cook with. And then let's see, soy. So soy is another product in America that tends to be genetically modified, sprayed with herbs, or not herbs, that would be great. Herbicides, pesticides, all that kind of stuff. So stay away from soy. It is also estrogen mimicking. So that's another big issue with soy, is it's estrogen mimicking. So when we are taking in amounts of soy, our body recognizes it as our natural hormone, estrogen, and it will actually stop producing estrogen, but the soy will sit on top of our cell receptors, and it looks like an estrogen. So your cell is like, okay, I've got an estrogen here, we're doing the job that we need to do. But then when it actually comes to the true function of that estrogen working for your cell, it's not going to function the way that a true estrogen hormone would. So stay away from soy. And so wheat, barley, rye, that's what's going to be in gluten. We've already covered that. And then sugar. Okay, so sugar is found in everything. Sugar is very inflammatory, okay? It's also creating a lot of issues where it's sticking to our cells, so it's disrupting cellular communication. And we all know that sugar leads to inflammation. It's why there's such a high amount of diabetes out there, is because of all the sugar that they're putting into our foods to make things taste better, okay? So read the label for sugar. If anything has over 5 grams of sugar or more per serving, it's probably not the best option. So you can put that down and find other sources of options out there. The other thing that you want to look for is you want to look for products that are using like a coconut palm sugar or organic raw cane sugar if you're buying anything with sugar in it, that type of thing. But again, you really want to look for products that aren't using any sugar, because that's going to be your best option to avoid those excess amounts of sugar, because we already get enough sugar in life through our fruits, through our vegetables, and through honey, through, using maple syrup. Those are great sources of sugar. You just want to watch out for the white, refined, processed sugar, or just anything that's like enriched, bleached, that kind of. All right, guys. Well, that is all I have for you today. I'm going to keep it pretty short. So I hope that you enjoy this.